Right now, on the device you are using to watch this video, there's a program sitting open in your taskbar. And that program knows things about you that would make you genuinely uncomfortable if you saw them written out in plain text on a single page. It knows every symptom you searched for at 2 in the morning when you were scared. It knows the financial questions you typed and then deleted before hitting search. It knows the political stories you read, the products you lingered on, the health conditions you looked up but never told anyone about. It has been collecting every single one of these signals, building a detailed picture of who you are, what you want, what you fear, and what you are worth to an advertiser. That program is Google Chrome. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what Chrome is doing in the background every second you have it open. Why the world's most popular browser is also one of the most powerful surveillance tools ever installed on personal hardware. And I am going to give you 3 specific alternatives that are genuinely safer, genuinely faster, and in most cases, genuinely better in nearly every measurable way. But first, you need to understand the full picture of what you are dealing with. Because this is not a small problem with a niche app. This is the most widely used piece of software on the planet, and what it does in the background has consequences that reach far beyond targeted shoe ads. The scale of Chrome's dominance. Let us start with a number. 65 billion. That is the current estimate of people who use Google Chrome as their primary browser. To frame that, more people use Chrome than live in any single country on Earth. It is the most dominant piece of consumer software in human history by active daily users, and it has held that position for over a decade. Chrome is not just popular. For a massive portion of the global population, Chrome literally is the internet. When people say they are going to browse the web, they mean they are opening Chrome. When developers build web applications, they optimize for Chrome first and treat every other browser as secondary. Chrome is infrastructure at this point. It is as fundamental to daily digital life as electricity or a mobile signal. And that dominance is precisely why what happens inside Chrome matters so much. When a single piece of software sits between over 2.5 billion people and the entire internet, what it does in the background has consequences that ripple through global commerce, personal financial security, political systems, and the basic architecture of how information reaches people. We are not talking about a privacy concern with a minor app. We are talking about the data practices of a browser that billions of people have opened for an average of 7 hours a day. The business model you are actually participating in. To understand why Chrome works the way it works, you have to understand what Google actually is as a business, because most people think of Google as a technology company that happens to run ads on the side. The reality is the opposite. Google is the most profitable advertising company in human history. In recent years, Google's parent company Alphabet has generated revenues approaching and exceeding $230 billion annually, with the overwhelming majority of that coming from advertising, specifically from targeted advertising. The kind where an advertiser does not just pay to show a message to millions of random people, but pays a premium to show it to exactly the right person at exactly the right moment, based on demonstrated behavioral signals about that person's interests, anxieties, spending habits, and psychology. The engine that makes targeted advertising work is behavioral data. What you search for, what you click, what you read, what you buy, how long you spend on a page, what time of day you are most active, what your financial situation appears to be, what health conditions you might have based on what you look up. The more detailed and accurate this profile is, the more precisely Google can target ads, and the more it can charge advertisers for that precision. Now here is where Chrome enters the picture. Chrome is not Google's most visible product, but it is arguably Google's most valuable one, because Chrome sits between you and the entire internet. Every website you visit, every link you click, every page that loads, every form you fill out passes through Chrome before it reaches you. Chrome has a front row seat to your entire digital life, on every device where it is installed, every hour of every day. No other product in Google's portfolio has that level of access. Not Gmail, not Google Maps, not even Google Search. Chrome. Because Chrome is the gateway to everything else. What Chrome is actually collecting, the most visible layer of Chrome's data collection, is your Google account. If you're signed in, and the browser strongly encourages you to do this at every opportunity, then your complete browsing history is synced to Google's servers by default. Every page you visit, every search you run, time-stamped, logged, and linked to your identity. Google frames this as a convenience feature so your history follows you across devices. And technically that is true. But the other side of that convenience is that Google now holds a complete chronological record of your internet activity tied directly to who you are. Research from cybersecurity firm Surfshark found that Google Chrome collects up to 20 different types of user data, far more than any competing browser. The average competing browser collects around 6. Chrome's collection spans browsing history, search history, contact information, precise location, financial information, purchase history, usage data, crash data, device identifiers, and more. And critically, unlike most other browsers, Chrome links the majority of this collected data directly to your identity rather than treating it as anonymous. But here's the part that catches most people completely off guard. Even if you are not signed into a Google account, even if you never went to Google.com, even if you deliberately tried to browse without using any Google services, Chrome is still feeding Google's data collection machine. This is because Google embeds its tracking infrastructure across the broader web through products like Google Analytics, Google Ads, Google Tag Manager, and DoubleClick. These tools are installed on an estimated 85% of the top 10 million websites in the world. That means on roughly 8.5 out of every 10 websites you visit, Google has code running in the background. Code that can observe which articles you read, how long you spend on each page, what products you look at, how far down a page you scroll, and what topics you are researching, all reported back to Google's servers, regardless of whether you ever touched a Google product deliberately. You open Chrome, you go to a health information website, Google's tracking code is there. You visit a new site, Google Analytics is there. You look at a product on a retail site, Google Ads is there. None of these are Google websites. You never typed Google.com. But Google has full visibility into all of it because the tracking infrastructure is woven into the fabric of the modern web, like a nervous system. And Chrome is the body most of the world uses to navigate it. The cookie reversal. Nobody talked about enough. Now let us discuss a story that received headlines, but whose full implications most people missed. For years, the primary tool that advertising companies used to track you across different websites was the third-party cookie. A tiny file placed by advertisers in your browser that followed you from site to site, building a portrait of your behavior across the web over time. Firefox blocked third-party cookies by default years ago. Safari blocked them too. And for several years, Google made prominent announcements that Chrome would also phase out third-party cookies, positioning this as a major privacy improvement. The deadline kept moving. 2022, then 2023, and then 2024. And then in July 2024, Google officially abandoned the plan entirely. Third-party cookies remain active in Chrome, and as of 2025, they are still running by default in standard browsing mode. Think about what that means. Every other major browser moved to protect users from cross-site tracking. Google announced it would do the same, and then reversed course completely. The advertising industry had pushed back hard. Chrome holds 67% of the global browser market, and full third-party cookie deprecation would have fundamentally disrupted the ad tech ecosystem. So Google backed down. What Google proposed instead through its Privacy Sandbox initiative was a system where Chrome itself would analyze your browsing behavior and assign you to interest group categories, which would then be shared with advertisers. The idea was that the raw data never leaves your browser, but the output, knowing you belong to categories like health-conscious consumer or financially stressed individual or politically conservative voter, is functionally similar to what third-party cookies enabled. The UK's Competition and Markets Authority raised concerns that this approach would actually consolidate Google's dominance further, rather than improve competition or privacy, because now the browser Google controls is doing the targeting directly. The legal context. You need to know the conversation about Chrome alternatives is no longer just a privacy enthusiast discussion. It has moved into federal courtrooms. In August 2024, a federal judge in the United States District Court ruled that Google is a monopolist that illegally maintained its dominance in the search and search advertising markets. The ruling found that Google used its control of distribution channels, including making Chrome and Google search the default across billions of devices, to suppress competition in a manner that violated antitrust law. It was one of the most significant rulings against a technology company since the Microsoft antitrust case in 2000. The Department of Justice argued during the remedies phase that Google should be forced to sell Chrome, pointing specifically to the fact that nearly 40% of Google's search volume in the United States flows through Chrome, and that Chrome provides critical user data that fuels Google's ability to target ads. In September 2025, the judge declined to order the divestiture of Chrome, ruling that the DOJ had overreached. But both sides have since filed appeals, and the DOJ's argument that Chrome divestiture is necessary is now heading to the U.S. Court of Appeals. The argument that Chrome in Google's hands constitutes an illegal instrument of market dominance is not settled law. It is an ongoing legal fight happening right now. Separately, in April 2025, a different federal court ruled that Google had formed an illegal monopoly in the online advertising technology market. The state of Texas reached a $375 billion settlement with Google over its advertising practices in May 2025. European regulators have designated Google as a gatekeeper under the Digital Markets Act, imposing new obligations around how Chrome can be bundled with services. The era of Chrome operating in a completely unregulated environment, collecting data at massive scale with minimal accountability, is ending. But regulatory processes take years. And in the meantime, you have Chrome open on your screen today, the 3 alternatives, and which one is right for you. None of what follows requires you to sacrifice meaningful functionality. Every browser we are about to cover is fast, well-supported, and compatible with the websites you visit every day. For most users, switching will result in a browser that is noticeably faster, cleaner, and in multiple ways more capable than what you have been using. Firefox is the oldest and most established privacy-respecting browser in the world. It has been around since 2004, predating Chrome by 4 years, and it is built and maintained by Mozilla, a nonprofit organization whose stated mission is to ensure the internet remains a global public resource, open and accessible to all. That nonprofit status matters more than most people realize. Mozilla does not make money by building behavioral profiles of its users and selling access to those profiles to advertisers. It makes money primarily through search partnership deals. It receives a fee when users make searches through its default search engine. That is a fundamentally different incentive structure. Mozilla does not benefit financially from knowing more about you. It benefits from building a browser you trust enough to keep using and to recommend to others. In terms of privacy features, Firefox is exceptional. It blocks third-party tracking cookies by default, something Chrome still does not do. It has enhanced tracking protection built in, which automatically blocks known tracking scripts across the web without any extension required. It isolates cookies by site, which means a tracker present on one website cannot follow you to another website, even if it technically runs on both. And it has built-in fingerprinting protection. Fingerprinting is worth understanding because it is increasingly how sophisticated advertisers track users when cookies are blocked. Your browser has hundreds of tiny measurable characteristics: the fonts installed on your system, your screen resolution, your graphics card, your time zone, the precise software versions running on your device. Individually, none of these identify you. Combined, they create a fingerprint that is unique to your device with high probability. Firefox actively works to make your browser look more generic and less distinct, reducing your fingerprint and making cross-site tracking significantly harder. Firefox is also fully open source. Every line of code that makes up Firefox can be read, audited, and verified by anyone in the world. This is fundamentally different from Chrome, which is built on an open source base called Chromium, but whose Chrome-specific components are closed source and cannot be independently verified. There is one more point about Firefox that is directly relevant to the Chrome comparison: extensions. Google announced changes to Chrome's extension framework, a shift from Manifest v2 to Manifest v3 that significantly weakens the capabilities of ad blocking and tracker blocking extensions, including uBlock Origin, which is widely regarded as the best privacy extension available. Mozilla explicitly committed to preserving the more capable extension framework in Firefox, maintaining the ability of privacy tools to do their job without the restrictions Google is imposing. The reason Google is restricting ad blockers in Chrome is straightforward when you remember that Google's primary business is advertising. Mozilla has no such conflict. For most users who want a direct, familiar replacement for Chrome, Firefox is the recommendation. Brave launched in 2016 and takes a more aggressive approach to privacy than any other mainstream browser. It is built on Chromium, the same open source engine Chrome is built on, which means it renders pages identically to Chrome and can run Chrome extensions. But Brave strips out all of Google's data collection infrastructure from Chromium entirely and replaces it with a privacy-first architecture. Brave blocks ads and trackers by default, without any extension required. It blocks fingerprinting by default. It blocks third-party cookies by default. It automatically upgrades connections from unencrypted HTTP to HTTPS wherever possible. And it has a feature called Brave Shields that gives you a real-time dashboard showing exactly how many trackers were blocked on any page you visit. Most people find this genuinely eye-opening the first time they use it. Major news websites routinely have 30, 40, or more trackers attempting to run. Social media sites can have even more. With Brave, every single one is blocked before the page finishes loading. This has a direct and measurable impact on speed. Ads and trackers are not just a privacy issue. They add weight to every web page. Each one requires your browser to load additional scripts, images, and data from third-party servers. When those are gone, pages are lighter and faster. Independent benchmarks have found that Brave can load pages on ad-heavy websites significantly faster than Chrome, and it reduces mobile data usage considerably, which matters if you are on a metered connection. Brave also has a built-in Tor integration for its private browsing mode. Standard incognito mode in Chrome or any browser only prevents your local device from saving history. It does nothing to hide your traffic from your internet service provider, from network surveillance, or from the websites you visit. Brave's private browsing with Tor routes your traffic through multiple relay points around the world, making it genuinely difficult to trace back to your IP address. No other mainstream browser offers this out of the box. For users who are heavily invested in the Chrome ecosystem and want the most seamless transition, Brave is the most natural upgrade path. Install it, import your Chrome bookmarks and passwords, install your Chrome extensions, and you are fully functional in under 5 minutes, with a browser that is immediately and substantially more privacy protective than what you are using, Safari. Safari deserves special mention for anyone in the Apple ecosystem, meaning Mac, iPhone, or iPad users. Safari is built by Apple, a company whose primary business model is selling hardware and services, not advertising. Apple does not make money by profiling its users and selling access to those profiles to advertisers. In fact, Apple has made privacy protection a central pillar of its brand identity and a key competitive differentiator from Google and the broader Android ecosystem. Safari has intelligent tracking prevention, a machine learning system that identifies and blocks tracking scripts across the web. It prevents cross-site tracking automatically. It hides your IP address from known trackers so that even if a tracker is not blocked outright, it cannot use your IP to identify you. And for iCloud Plus subscribers, it has a feature called Private Relay that routes your web traffic through 2 separate internet relays so that neither Apple nor your network provider can see both who you are and what you are browsing simultaneously. For Mac users specifically, there is another advantage that has nothing to do with privacy: battery life. Chrome is notoriously aggressive in its CPU usage and poorly optimized for Apple Silicon, the processor architecture in every Mac made since 2020. Safari is deeply integrated with macOS and specifically optimized for Apple Silicon chips. Independent battery tests consistently show that MacBooks last significantly longer on Safari versus Chrome. In some tests, 30 to 40% longer on identical tasks. That is not a marginal difference. If you use a MacBook and you are still using Chrome, you are leaving a significant amount of battery life on the table every single day. Safari's extension library is smaller than Firefox's or Brave's, which is a real limitation for power users who rely on many extensions. But for the vast majority of everyday users, the built-in feature set covers the essentials, and the privacy and performance advantages make Safari the obvious recommendation for anyone working within the Apple ecosystem. Your action plan. Here is what you do today. Pick your browser, Firefox from Mozilla, Org, Brave from Brave, Com, or Safari if you are on Apple hardware. Open it. Go to Settings, find the import option, select Chrome as the source, and everything, bookmarks, passwords, history, transfers automatically in under a minute. Set your new browser as the system default through your operating system's default app settings. Then go into your new browser's settings and change the default search engine. Switching browsers is only half the equation. If you keep using Google Search, Google continues logging every search you perform and connecting it to your profile. DuckDuckGo is the most accessible alternative. No tracking, no profile building, clean interface, and strong results for everyday searches. Brave Search is building an independent search index from scratch with zero tracking. Start Page fetches Google results on your behalf as a privacy-preserving proxy if you want Google quality results without Google seeing who made the search. Then, and this part matters, actually delete Chrome. Do not just stop using it. A dormant Chrome installation may still run background processes, sync data, and update itself. On Windows, go to Settings, Apps, find Google Chrome and uninstall it. On Mac, drag Chrome from your Applications folder to the trash and empty it. On iPhone or Android, press and hold the icon and select Delete or Uninstall. Finally, go to My Account, Google, Com, navigate to Data and Privacy, and review what Google has stored about you. Your search history, your location history, your YouTube activity, your browsing data from Chrome Sync. You can download all of it, you can delete it, and you can set up auto-delete so that Google automatically purges activity older than 3 months going forward. The bottom line. The browser you use is not a neutral tool. It is a choice about whose interests are being served while you use the internet. Chrome was built to serve Google's interests, its data collection practices, its default settings, its relationship with the advertising ecosystem, its resistance to genuinely powerful ad blockers. All of it flows from the commercial reality that Google makes its money by knowing as much about you as possible and selling access to that knowledge. Firefox, Brave, and Safari were built with fundamentally different incentive structures. They are not inferior products you tolerate for the sake of privacy. They are excellent browsers that, in most cases, load pages faster, use less RAM, drain your battery less aggressively, and give you a cleaner, less cluttered web experience, because they are not loading the weight of tracking scripts and advertising infrastructure on every page you visit. You bought your device. You pay for your internet connection. You spend real hours of your life online. You deserve a browser that is working for you, not one that is working to understand you well enough to sell that understanding to the highest bidder.